This is an episode I have been hoping would come to fruition for over a year. This man is a former footballer. He's a father of a big clan. He's a husband. He is an author. His book is soon to be made into a TV show. He's launching his own foundation. He has done many, many things. Eddie Betts III, welcome to the Howie Games. I'm pumped to have you here, great man.
Thanks, Howie. Thanks for having me on the Howie Games. Looking forward to it.
It's great to have you here. It's pretty. How is life at home with your delightful wife and 5 children? Like, I've got 2, Eddie, and I've been away for a couple of weeks, and my wife has been an Uber driver. Like the beautiful Erica, she has worked that hard to get the kids where they need to go. 5. What's 5 like?
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, having one kid is tough. You know, having 5 kids is tough. It's all the same when it comes to children, and you know, she's unbelievable, Anna. Even when I was playing footy, we had 4 kids when we were playing footy, and that was really tough. You know, because I would go and train every day from 9 o'clock, come home at 5, and I would miss school drop off, and she'll be the one getting up, dropping the kids off. I would try to pick them up on the way home from training, and so just to help out with the loads. But now that I'm finished footy, I'm not working at Geelong anymore. I'm just at home working on other stuff, which I'm really passionate about, but spending time with them. I get to drop them off, I get to pick them up, and it's really good. I know I love being a father, because sometimes it's crazy because you get up, there's kids, the oldest one's annoying the littlest ones, they're crying and trying to get 5 lunch boxes ready, but we tend to do it the night before, make all the lunches the night before, get up, kids got to be at school at 8 or 8:30, so it's a very fun morning, but sometimes it's challenging as well, so but I love it.
I've got the names here. You got Alice, Lewis, Billy, Maggie and Eddie, but then I noticed in your book you said you refer to Eddie now as Sonny.
Yes, so we got Louis. Louis is the oldest. He's 10, turning 11. Billy's 8. Alice and Maggie are 5. We didn't mean to have twins, but there's nothing along the lines with twins. I don't know how. Yeah, it just came out of the blue, having twin girls. And then we have Sonny. His name's Eddie Betts, but no middle name, just Eddie Betts. But it got too confusing at home, so we just. We were going to officially just change his name to Sonny,
right?
But I didn't. The paperwork still haven't signed it yet, so I think I'll just leave his name as Eddie Betts, but it's Sonny. So everywhere he goes, go to kindy, he's got Sonny written on. He's logged in as Sonny.
Okay.
Lunchbox is Sonny, bag Sonny. The twin girls call him Sonny. So it's.
But he is Eddie Betts IV.
But he's Eddie Betts IV.
Wow.
Yeah.
At twins, tell me about that conversation. So you go, you get the ultrasound. They say congratulations. Yeah, having twins.
Well, I wasn't there at the ultrasound because we had 2 kids already, and I think I was away. I was away playing a game interstate when I was in Adelaide, and Anna called me and she said, "Listen," and he started crying. I was like, "Oh no!" Obviously, I thought the worst. Something might happen, and she said, "There's bloody 2." I was like, "Are you effing joking me?" But for me, like growing up in a big family, I rang my mum. She said, "Oh well, more the merrier." Rang my dad, and he said, "That's amazing. Like more kids, the better." And I've grown up in a big family. You know, lived in a 3-bedroom house with 18 cousins.
Wow.
And just living like that, I can't deal with quiet. I can't deal with just sitting at home because I'm bored, and it's not fun for me. So I need noise. I need that hectic kind of thing. And growing up in a big family, and I was like, it's great. Yeah, great. I didn't know what they were, girls or boys, but as long as they were healthy, that was the most important thing. But yeah, to know that we wanted a little girl because we had 2 boys at that time. We wanted a little girl, but be careful what you wish for because I got 2. I love them. I love all my kids equally. There's no favourites. Well, there probably is, but I won't say that out.
Don't go on record.
I won't go that on record, but they're great kids. They are great kids.
Mate, I read I read it when it first came out, and I read it a second time in your book. I've got it here, The Boy from Boomerang Crescent. Congratulations on the book. It's not your normal sports read. People should read it. It's a phenomenal journey through Australia's history and Australia's past in many ways. But I didn't realise you talked about if there's a guy out there, the one guy you said no to an autograph to, it was because you weren't in attendance when your wife was having one of your children. And I was trying to figure out, was that a COVID situation?
No, that was the twins.
That was the twins.
That was the twins. I missed the twins' birth.
Right.
Because Anna, we were playing on a Saturday, and she was the babies were due the next week.
Yep.
And so I said, okay, fine, let's do that. I'll go and play. Saturday morning about 3:00, she texted and said, something's not right. I don't feel good. I feel like my waters are going to break. And her mother and her sister were getting on the plane Saturday morning to fly over just in case anything happened over the weekend. Yep. That they will be there to support. And then she said, nah, it's all fine. We got to 7 a.m, and she said, nah, I think something's wrong. The waters have broken. I can't really do anything. Do you want to jump on the next plane? And I said, okay, well, I'll try to get the next plane. She rang the doctor.
Where were you?
I was at Albert Park, just around the corner where they play. I was with Adelaide at the time. We were staying at Albert Park.
And so Anna was back in Adelaide?
I was back in Adelaide.
Gotcha.
By herself with the 2 older boys. And I was flying, Crows were playing St Kilda that night and flying back home that night, Saturday night. And
so it's only a small window. You weren't
It was
home.
a small window. And so she went straight to the hospital. I said, all right, I'm going to look for the next plane. I'll get on. I'll miss the game. The doctor said, don't worry about it because they'll be here by the time you get home anyway. So you're going to miss it. Huh. So it's up to you if you want to. And Anna said, just stay and play. You will miss it anyway. And I was freaking out in the foyer down there. I was like, what am I going to do? And we had friends over in Adelaide that would come house. We had a lady called Nana Josie, but we call her Nana Josie. She was the kids' kind of nanny in Adelaide because my mum was in Western Australia and Anna's mum was in Wangaratta in Victoria here, country Victoria. So rang Nana Josie, who looks after the kids for us. She came down, helped, packed up Anna, went straight to the hospital. Within 30 minutes, the twins were born. And I was pacing. I was like, what the heck's going on? And they rang me on my phone, FaceTime. They said, here, we're in labour right now. The babies are coming. While I'm walking around pacing. And what didn't click is that I'm in the foyer. I should have just said, listen, my wife is giving birth. Can you put me into a private room with some Wi-Fi so I could watch the girls being born? I just didn't think so. I'm sitting in the foyer. There's people walking past. Sitting there. Anna's dad rocked up because we were catching up for breakfast that morning. And so he rocked up and I'm like, your granddaughters are being born. And he's like, what? And so we both sat there, me, Anna's dad, my father-in-law, watching the birth of his granddaughters and my daughters. And it was quite special. Thank God for
technology.
FaceTime. And there was a dude that walked past and goes, Ed, could I? I was like, no, sorry, mate, sorry. I can't. I'm just on something. And I felt really rude because I was just firm with him because I was so focused on watching my daughters being born. I'm like, no, sorry, can you just go, please? I've just got this. And after the girls were born, I actually apologised to him. I actually said it on that night. They interviewed me after the game and I told everyone that the girls were born, Richo and Lingy, I think it was, and Luke Darcy. And I said, there was only one person who came up and I was real rude to him. So I'm sorry that I was rude because this is why my twins were getting born. And then David Teed rocked up because he was obviously a coach at Adelaide Crows. He was our forward line coach and we're pretty close. And he rocked up to see the boys, see some of the forwards that he coached at Adelaide and came over to the foyer and he saw the girls as well and said hello to Anna.
Wow.
So, yeah. But the funny thing, the lady, the midwife that was in there, she was like having a phone like, now Ed, here, this is your daughter. Now you have to kick 3 goals for her. Make sure that you play really well today. Not caring about make sure they're our Adelaide supporters. Make sure you play well.
And how did you go? How did you go with all that going on around you? How'd you play?
We played all right. We won. I kicked 3 goals.
So you did what was required then for the hospital staff?
Did what was required for the hospital staff. I told the boys before the game, I said, listen, in front of everyone, I said, Anna went into labour and we had twin girls that are healthy. So as soon as I finished the game, got straight to the airport. They were at, I forgot what hospital it was in Adelaide. Got off the plane, went straight to the hospital, went into the rooms. They were in an incubator because they were came early. Yeah. So they were sitting in the incubator. So got to cuddle my girls for the first time, and it was special.
Wow, that
didn't plan out the way that I would like it to plan out, but that's how it planned. And they're here, they're healthy, and I've got 5 beautiful children.
Which I've been told that you have taken your football exploits into coaching.
Yes.
Who are you coaching?
I'm coaching the under-11s Redback side, Ashburton Redbacks.
So who's playing for them?
Louis, my oldest son.
Right. Okay. So obviously you've played under all sorts of coaches, but you played under Malthouse. You've played
Dennis
under
Pagan.
Dennis Pagan.
Yeah.
You've worked under Chris Scott down there at Geelong, the greats. What are you bringing to the table as a coach? Are you a Malthouse disciplinarian? Are you a Chris Scott, go and do your training on your own approach? Or how are you
I'm
doing
firm.
it?
I am firm.
You?
These kids need bit. I don't want them because I've got kids that they can play footy, but they can't. They don't understand the game a bit, and they like to step down. They kick the ground and play with themselves in the background with their arms and like do this and kick the floor. I'm like, if you're going to do that, you can come sit on the bench.
Right.
Like, focus on the game, guys. Focus on the game, listen up. And, I take it very serious, but I have to give them just easy things to focus on. I mean, I actually told a kid, you got to go on, go down to the forward pocket. And he looked at me and goes, where's the forward pocket? And I was like, are you kidding me? Okay, we'll just go over and stand in the goal square. When the ball comes down, chase and tackle.
and your lads and girls, are they Adelaide or are they Carlton?
They're Geelong.
They're Geelong.
They're Geelong.
So the most recent association because Tyson's there.
Yeah, because the Tyson's down there.
Okay.
And, they still love looking at the Adelaide Crows. I still watch the Adelaide Crows and I still watch Carlton as well.
Yep.
Which they're not doing too well.
No, my wife's a big Carlton supporter, Eddie.
So-
She said to say, Eddie, I love you, ... What's happening at the Blues was
And
what she
so
wanted to know.
We tend to go to Geelong games, when Tyson's playing, and they go for Geelong, they watch Geelong games, and so that's where it sits at the moment. But these kids, I get someone to film all the games. So it's round 4 at the moment. I went through every single tackle. I do all their stats.
You're doing a video review.
I do a video review with them.
I like this.
I'll give you a little, and I'll show you each week what I go through. So look, I even go through.
Please do.
I even go through the stat line. I don't know if you can get that on camera. So I got all the boys, all their names. I got their disposals all coming up, their marks, tackles, goals, points, which is pretty cool. I do it every week. I go through, sit at home, watch the whole game.
So you're doing the stats?
I'm doing the stats.
So you are champion data.
I am champion data at home.
Outstanding.
Every game we were down. Every game we're down by 2 goals. But these kids, they just find a way. Don't know what it is. They just find a way to just compete, chase, tackle. And I actually took a bit of Geelong game plan down there last year. Is that when we get it, you're not hand passing back. Just go forward. You get it, you kick forward. You get it out of a hand. You don't turn backward. You turn forwards and get yardage. And then we press the game. So it's all about territory for me. And these kids, they're adapting pretty well. But I got to calm my nerves. Because I'm like yelling at them. What are you doing? Pick up.
And what's it done for your, like any professional athlete, you get into the game originally because you love it. And I understanding that there's ups and downs, there's highs and there's tough times along the way. What's it done for your love of the game going back at grassroots with kids? Who were you 20 years ago who just played because they loved it?
There's 2 parts of that. It's that the first part, it's bringing that enjoyment back for me within junior footy, grassroots footy, and just watching my kids. And on the other part is like, I wish I had footage of myself playing as a young kid. Like I don't have any footage of myself playing. And so I would want my kids to capture their moments. So when they get older, they can look at them as a young kid playing and kicking goals and making tackles. And it brought that love. But the other part about it is like, why the hell did I choose to coach on 11s? It's so frustrating. It's frustrating as hell. And I'm like, man, this is tough. Like I'm pacing down the sideline, getting more grey hairs.
There's going to be coaches out there that are listening to this thinking, I need to up my standard. I need video reviews. I need stats. Eddie, there's so much to talk about with you. But when this comes out, it will have been launched. You're launching it officially tonight on Fox Footy with Jared and Robbo. But the Eddie Betts Foundation, something you've been working towards for a long time. What is it? What does it mean to you? And how much work's gone into it? And congratulations. All the work you and your team have put into it, mate.
No, thanks, Howie. Yeah, we are. This is a long time coming because this is something that me and my family have been doing already for the last 10 years within the AFL system. We've got a team around us that's, have lived experience and understand the barriers that we face when it comes to education and sport. And it's really just giving kids an opportunity to succeed. I mean, me growing up, I faced so many barriers when it comes to sport, when it comes to education. My father did the same. My grandfather were the same. And I just want to make it a lot easier for these kids. This is my passion. My wife Anna said to me, "You played 350 games. You've done all that. You've kicked goals, but whether you like it or not, your job starts now, and that's for your people." And she's absolutely right. I can't sit back and watch these younger kids come through and struggle to come through. I'm in a position now where I could help, and I could help on a bigger scale with having this foundation out. And so it's something that I hold close to my heart, and it's really, really special, and I can't wait for it to start.
I'll get to the bits of your book that I found really confronting to read, and I was talking about it with Erica and the kids yesterday, trying to say, I don't know how to relate to this, but tell me about your upbringing. Where were you born, and what was life like for a young Eddie Betts III?
Well, I was born in Port Lincoln. If people don't know where that is, that's where you do the great white shark diving here in Australia.
Tuna fishing, home of Dean Lucan, the 1984 heavyweight, big weightlifter.
Maccabi Divas.
Maccabi
Divas got a statue.
Yeah,
if
of
you
course.
Horse racing down at town. So
surely there's a statue of Eddie Betts.
Nah, if there would be, it should be on my grandfather.
Yeah, right.
But I grew up there, beautiful town. My mum and dad split up when I was younger. Moved to Kalgoorlie, Western Australia, big mining town, 800 kilometres inland from Perth, and I grew up there. I grew up most of my childhood there, growing up in Kalgoorlie. We moved to Boomerang Crescent, hence why
it's the name of the book.
The name of the book is the boy from Boomerang Crescent. It's my nana and papa's house, and they lived in a 3-bedroom house, and my mum, my auntie, my mum's brothers, my uncles, we all lived in that house, and it was just an amazing growing up in a house full of kids and just doing. We had no PlayStation, no iPhones back then. It was just playing outside. I remember cutting our hole in a crate, sticking it to the tree, and that was our basketball ring. Shooting hoops at the back. And I was one of the youngest. So there was 2 other couple of younger boys that are younger than me, but everyone was older. All the older boys, and they were tough and they were challenging. They wouldn't let us beat them. But I was always wanted the one to win and determined to beat them, and I tried my heart out to beat my older brothers, but they just couldn't beat them. But that's how I grew up, just competing, whether it was we had cricket in the backyard. I didn't even know what cricket was. I didn't even follow cricket, but we would pick up a bat with a tennis and throw the arm over and smacking the ball around in the backyard. We'll kick footy in the backyard, and it was just free. But the hardest part was finding a bed. That was the hardest part. There was a caravan in the back, and you have to sit down early. Mattresses in the lounge room, and everyone that's grown up, living in community, you will know what it's like going to Nana and Papa's house, and there's going to be mattresses in the lounge room everywhere.
A good incentive to get to bed early. That's the only way to snag a bed, though.
Yeah, well, it's during the day. You put a blanket and a pillow down. That's you.
Right.
Yeah, I'm here. No one take this.
Okay.
And so, it was really fun.
When do you first start playing for a footy team? Who's the first team you play for?
It'd be Mines Rovers Football Club in Western Australia.
What type of jumper they wear?
They were blue like this, blue and white.
Blue and white. And were you little? Were you little always, or not?
I played soccer before I played footy. So I was playing for Boulder City.
Right.
I was very competitive. I remember I kicked 12 goals in one game.
In a game of soccer?
In a game of soccer.
That's a day out.
It was a day out.
Wow.
I was just hungry. I wasn't passing it to anyone. And then my dad, he got out of he went to jail for 3 years when he came across to visit us in Kalgoorlie, and he got out of prison and he saw me playing soccer, and he played for Mines Rovers Football Club as well as older. They called him the Wizard, my father.
The Wizard,
and so he came and said, "No, mate, you're not playing soccer. You're playing footy."
The Wizard.
But footy, the soccer helped me because it helped me kick left and right foot.
Yeah,
playing soccer. But then he put me into soccer. They put me into football, played for Mines Rovers, and then he went back to Western Australia, went back to South Australia, Port Lincoln. I played there for 1 year, or maybe 2 years in the Mines Rovers Football Club. Moved back across to live with my dad in Port Lincoln. I played for the mighty Mallee Park Football Club, and that's an all-Aboriginal side in Port Lincoln, the Mallee Park Football Club, and there's so much great talent that came out of there and played AFL footy. The likes of Shawnee and Peter Burgoyne, Byron Pickett, Cozzy Pickett, Lindsay Thomas, Harry Miller, who got drafted to Hawthorn, Derek Miller got drafted to Hawthorn, Marcus Pickett got drafted to Essendon, Daniel Wells, Aaron Davey.
All from this football club.
All from this football club that all played within this football club. And so...
And were you, as a kid, were you a standout or were you just another junior footballer?
Might sound arrogant, but I think I was a standout.
Yeah.
But there were everyone there. Everyone was...
There was high talent level.
It was high talent level. It was really, really high talent level. And we dominated most weeks. And, it was a special football club to be a part of. And, hopefully I could help out that football club and help out the kids that are from there, because most of those kids can play AFL footy, but they just can't tend to leave that environment, because we grew up in a bubble. And like I spoke about, I grew up in a big family. And I didn't really go to school. And the reason because I didn't go to school, there was no black people in my class. And I was uncomfortable because the bubble that I grew up in was with all black people. And going to school, it was really uncomfortable for me. Just didn't ask for help, didn't put my hand up. So I was just like, no, I'm not going to go. And so that was really tough. And then moving back and forth from Port Lincoln to Kalgoorlie was really, really tough as well with the schooling aspect of it. And so I didn't step out of my comfort zone. And a lot of kids grow up in this bubble where it's family. And so they don't want to leave that comfort zone. They don't want to step out of this comfort zone. And so I urge them to, if you want to make something with your life, you want to pursue something, whatever you do, and if you want to pursue something, everything's going to be uncomfortable. So you have to pursue and step out of that little bubble that you live in and step into the uncomfortable. And then when you do that and you continue to do that, that's going to become comfortable. And that's the only way that we're going to grow and succeed. And so
You've talked about being uncomfortable and people having to be uncomfortable. What is the transition like from these small regional towns to Victoria, Melbourne, footy, weather, new people? Like how big a step is all that?
I think for me, and what made it more comfortable, my family moved over with me. So my mum, my auntie, my sisters, and a few other people. So there was like 15 of us living in another 3-bedroom house in Glenroy.
So you had home at the end of the day?
So I had a home at the end of the day. I had a comfort place to go to at the end of the day, where I speak about with these kids when they come over and they stay at boarding house. They don't have that home. They don't have that comfort spot.
So there's no comfort.
So there's no comfort. There's no safe, really place for these kids. So that's why my goal was to build that boarding house for these kids that when they do come, they tend to stay in this comfort place, that environment, that comfortable place where they grew up. And so, so for me, I had somewhere to go. I had family here. And that's why, yes, it might have been tough during the day and going and training, but when I get home, there's my safety. There's my comfort space.
So
I don't feel homesick because I've got them there.
And then, so the draft, you don't get picked up?
So the draft...
Are you watching the draft? Like, have you got your heart set on it?
I'm listening to it on radio. My heart's set on it. My name didn't get picked up. So I was like, oh, crap. What do I do now?
So what was next for you?
Next was I packed up everything. I'm coming back to Kalgoorlie in Western Australia. A few of my cousins were working on the mines. They're not sitting behind a desk. They're working on the tractors and doing all that. And I can't work behind a desk. I can't read. I can't write. I don't know how to work a computer. And so I said, well, I'm gonna try work on the mines. And so my heart was set on working on the mines in Kalgoorlie. I got back to Kalgoorlie. I got back on a Tuesday. My 18th birthday was on a Saturday. My birthday's in November, and so that's when the draft was, in November. My family, my dad was coming across from South Australia to my 18th birthday, and Carlton rang me up on a Wednesday and said, we want to give you an opportunity to come back and train with the Carlton Football Club.
No guarantees?
No guarantees, but I said, sweet, that's fine. Can we wait for Monday? My 18th birthday.
After the birthday?
After the birthday.
Oh, I like how bold you were, Ed. Give me a few days.
They said, nah, mate, if you want to make something, get on a flight tomorrow and come back.
I see you couldn't be there for your birthday.
So I missed the birthday. I jumped on a flight on a Thursday. My parents still had the birthday without me on a Saturday. They celebrated, enjoyed it. Jumped on a plane. I had like a little function for my birthday, which was nice, before I got back on.
Yep.
What made it a little bit easier when I got to Carlton, there was a couple of boys that were training. Jesse Smith was one I played footy with. There were two Jesse Smiths that I played with. Jesse Smith Jr. went to North Melbourne, and Jesse Smith got rookie listed to Carlton as well. And I trained with him. He was living at Sunbury, so I went back and stayed with Jesse for a couple of weeks, trained with the the Carlton Football Club. Trent Noble was training at that time. Trent Noble, if no one knows Trent Noble, he's a ruckman, big tall good. Carlton needed a ruckman. And when the draft came, Trent Noble went number 1 to Richmond, but he was training at Carlton. Went number 1 in the preseason draft. So Carlton told me that they were going to pick me up later on. And so Carlton had number 3. They were going to pick Trent Noble up in that draft. And so I said, okay, well, Trent Noble's gone. Who do we get? And Dennis, I remember they would say me that Dennis said, we'll get the next best person that we're going to get. And so they ended up picking me up at number 3 in the preseason draft, which put me straight on the senior list.
Sliding doors.
Yeah, sliding. And when I remember walking through the doors, I remember the property steward, Bulldog, his name was Wayne. We called him Bulldog, and he was hard. He wouldn't let you get any gear from him. And he looked at me when I walked through. He goes, "Oh, gee, that's a big ruckman," because Carlton were going for a ruckman at that time.
Right.
And it was from then onwards, I was happiest boy, knowing that I've been picked up by, if not the biggest club in the AFL, by the Carlton Football Club. And there was really tough times my first year, knowing that we're losing. I won 2 wooden spoons. I won a Wizard Cup with the Carlton Football Club, but we weren't succeeding, and it wasn't really that fun. There was always pressure on the Carlton Football Club coming through those early days.
But you like when you got, so you're talking November, you turned 18. Dennis is the coach? Dennis Pagan's
the coach.
So, but you play round 1 the next year.
Yeah.
So you must have done something pretty good over summer.
All I did was come out, chase, train, tackle. I remember one time too, I caught Fev in a handball game, and I tackled him holding the ball, and he got angry, and he grabbed me and slammed me to the ground.
Big Fev did.
But I remember Brett Thornton, T-Bird, came over and scruffed Fev, "Get off him, leave him. He's only young." And at that time, you got thrown in with the deep end. You're not, when you speak about people getting drafted, there's fitness guys now, and they ease these young kids into these running programs. Not us back then. We got chucked straight in with Kuda, with Camperali, with all these midfielders, and you're doing the same running as them. And it was hard, but I ended up, I forged my little group with Fev and Whitnell, because we're always down the back.
So who was your first game?
My first game was North Melbourne.
First opponent? I read this in the book, but you tell me in your words.
My first opponent was the toughest man in AFL history.
Glenn Archer?
Glenn Archer, if no one knows. He played for North
He's
Melbourne.
3 times the size of you, Eddie.
He is 3 times the size. And I looked up, and that's when I said Archer and Betts, and I was like, what the actual F?
So you've seen that up on the board?
I threw it up on the board. There were some big words up on the board I didn't understand. And all I know is they play footy, and I was just white as a ghost, and I was like, what the hell? And Dennis asked me a question in the meeting, and I kind of and muddled my words, and everyone started laughing. And it kind of broke the ice for me. I wasn't as nervous after that. And so, but walking out, I've always went to, what do we call it, Telstra Dome back then. So I always went to Telstra Dome or watch Byron Pickett play, sitting in the stands. Maybe one day, I might have the opportunity if I'm good enough. And fair enough, I ended up walking out, and the crowd was all going, and I was looking around thinking, wow, this is special. And then someone, I said, "Ed, stop looking at the crowd. Get into the game. Come on, let's go." And I remember kicking a goal. We're down by 30. I kicked the goal, and I ran to on the boundary, and I put my hands up, and I celebrated. And big Whitnell goes, Ed, put me straight back. I'm like, Ed, shh, don't celebrate. We're 30 points down. Just keep it to a minimum. Wait till we come back. And so, I was like, yes, fair enough. But I kicked the goal. I'm excited, man. I'm happy.
So that's your first game. We sort of started this journey from, I said there was a couple of things that really hit me between the eyes. What type of courage does it take, Ed, to speak up to people in a group and say, I need to learn to improve my reading, my writing, my comprehension?
Yeah.
As I said, mate, my kids can't relate to that conversation.
Yeah, it was tough, and I was really embarrassed, and I didn't speak up in front of the group. I went and I think I went to Shane O'Sullivan first, who stood at the football club, and I spoke to Shane and said, "Listen, I can't read, I can't write, I can't understand what's going on. I need to do literacy and numeracy classes. I need to somehow do that." And eventually then the boys found out, told the boys, and then we ended up doing one-on-one tutoring with a tutor for the next 3 years, and just helping me to read, helping me to write, helping me to spell. And I did that on my day off, on a Thursdays when the day off was, or whatever day it fell on. I remember going in, and I actually still catch up with these tutors now. I don't catch up with them, but I see them every now and then around the street. and always give them a hug and say hello, how are you doing? And it's when I think about that, it took, I guess, a lot of courage
A tremendous amount of courage.
because I was embarrassed, and so even to this day I'm still learning big words. I'm still learning. Thank God for autocorrect on your phone, that helps you spell a bit more. But
helps us all, I reckon.
it helped me a lot in those first 3 years to do literature and numeracy classes. But I grew a lot from those 3 years and started because I needed to understand, what contracts were put in front of me. You need to understand how to pay my bills. I didn't know how to pay my bills. I had a Telstra bill or phone bill. I didn't know how to pay that. Any bill, gas bill, any sort of bill that come away, I didn't understand any of it. So I needed to start learning and growing up and start being independent, because I was living away now from my family. I was living in with Jake Edwards and Paul Bauer at the time. And
you living with Jake Edwards? He was one of the very first guests on this podcast, Jake.
Yeah, Jakey Edwards. I live with Jake and Paul Bauer. And so I had to grow up really, really fast. But from then onwards, so my journey, and when I speak about that educational part, the message that I give to young Aboriginal kids, especially within communities, because a lot of kids within these communities, it is hard going to school, but the attendance rates within these school are really low with Aboriginal kids. So they see, and I've been told this, that they see me as an out. A lot of kids can play footy. A lot of good kids are great at footy, but they hear my story. They say, "Oh, Ed didn't go to school. Ed couldn't read or write, but Ed played footy, so that's what I could do." And when I see these kids, and when I go speak to Aboriginal kids within the community, I tell them, please stay at school, finish your education. You're a leader. You're already a born leader. Looking after your little siblings, growing up in big families. You'll be a role model, to these kids. You graduate year 12, you'll be a role model for your younger siblings. I've got a big family of first cousins. They're all my brothers and sisters, about 18, 19 of us, and only one graduated year 12. Only one. And that was a big achievement for our family. That Sky Han, her name was, Sky graduated year 12, which was so proud that she done that. And, I go to these kids and I said, stay in school. Education is the key. Sport is not the key. Because if you don't get picked up playing AFL footy and you don't have education, what do you fall back onto? Where do you go from here? If you have the education behind you, you can chase whatever you want to chase. You can become a doctor. You can go to university. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you have the education behind you. I said I was one of the lucky ones. I was really, really lucky, and it's rare that what I did to get through these cracks and slip through these cracks to make something with my life. I kind of pinch myself that where I sit now to where it all began and where I started.
Oh, I don't even know how to ask the question, Eddie. Are we as a community, as an Australian community, are we on the right path? Are we making progress in relation to integration of various backgrounds and communities and races, or are we not?
It is tough. It is really tough, and I think we are progressing. We are progressing as a nation when it comes to racism and educating and understand, but there's always going to 95 people in this country are always trying to do better. There's always going to be 5% of people that are going to either make comments, disagree with what you say, and, racially abuse you in a sense. So we are getting better, but the people that are going to make the change are the next generation coming through. I wrote 2 children's books, and one's My People, and it's about Aboriginal culture and histories. And that's just educating kids on a little bit about our culture. And I wanted to get that in schools, which is been getting into school and just educating the next generation. And I think that's where our true change is going to come from. If I can't educate the older generation, they're not going to be around for so long. Where the next generation that are coming through, I do a lot of talk to schools, and I tell everyone in that audience that no matter what, I'll continue to use my voice in a position of power and in a position of to try to make change. But it's up to you guys, because no one's born racist. It's up to you guys to educate yourself, educate your children, because your children are the ones that's going to be the change for us.
Wait, surely, but you're right. Like, surely you can't be born thinking this person is different to me because of the pigment in their skin. Like, it makes no sense.
No. Well,
my kids are learning a very different history of Australia than I learnt in grade 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, and I think, when it comes to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures, it should be a curriculum within our schools that we learn about. We learn about Captain Hook when you first come into schools. You don't learn much about our culture and our history and how long we've been here and how we survived off the land. So I think
that's all I learn about Captain Cook.
But
I think my kids are learning different to that.
So I think it should be. And schools are getting better, so they are learning more about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. And it is tough. Like, to this day, like, we still see in the AFL, we're still facing racism. We're still dealing with comments that are happening. Tomorrow,
how the hell can that happen, though? How can someone be so ignorant and disgusting to make comments like that to people? I actually can't get my head around that.
Yeah, I can't as well. Like, the society that we're in.
It's 2023.
It is 2023. But you look at, it's...
How do you feel? I often think about this. When things like this come out, that players have been racially abused and the game says that's it, enough. But it's, go back to Sid Jackson, go back to Michael Long, go back to Nicky Winmark, go back to you. Like, it's still throughout the game. When then I turn on the telly and you do an amazing job on Fox Footy, but always when there's something about racism, you have to become the spokesperson. I often think to myself, how is that for Eddie, having to go and answer these same questions again and again and again? Like, it must become...
It's a burden. And it's a lot of weight on your shoulders. But I feel like sometimes, it's like, why? Why do we keep happening? Why do we have to keep dealing with these issues? And, we deal with it, not just in our footy life, we deal with it in general. Like, issues that we deal with outside, being followed around in a shop because you're black, thinking that you're stealing something. Like, it's everyday life that we deal with these issues. And I guess for me, knowing I don't feel like I need to, but I feel like if I don't, who will, in a sense. And I feel like if I see 3 white males talking about racism that don't understand it, that don't feel it, that don't know how it impacts you or the community, I need to put my face to it. Or not need to put my face to it, I need to go and educate people. And for me, yes, the burden is hard. Yes, the weight on your shoulders is big. But I want to make change. I want my kids just to be kids and not face these issues. And I will continue to use my voice. I'll continue to stand up no matter how much racism we face. I want our brothers and sisters to be safe in this country. And for whatever reason, I feel like I have to continue to fight. I have to continue to use my voice to make change. But it is tiring. And I've spoken about it countless times on Fox Footy.
So many times.
On TV, is that it is tiring. And, we are getting sick and tired of it. So that's why every time I do talks, I put it back on the wider community. I put it back on, it's your job. It's not my job. You hear me talk about it. You see me put my face to it. But I can't be the one that's always talking about it. You guys are the one that's going to make the real change when you educate yourselves and your kids.
How have you enjoyed taking your voice to mainstream television and becoming like a genuine TV star? Like, we had the pleasure last year, and we've done a couple this year, of doing Best on Ground, and there's Nick Rewell there, and there's John O'Brien there, and there's Nathan Buckley and Kath. Like, the superstars of the channel, and we would have a live audience. But the shows where you came on it, there was more love for you than the big boppers, which what's it like fronting up now entertainment shows, football shows, and there's that theory about if you can't see it, you can't dream it.
What you can't see, you can't be.
Yeah.
It's to be honest,
like you're a TV star now. Like, I know that sometimes I've seen you at the back, and you're like me, you can be a bit edgy, but you might. I don't know if you're a reluctant TV star, but the showman in the football ground comes out for you on the TV screen, which is cool.
Yeah, it's to be honest, Harry, I'm very uncomfortable. I didn't see myself going down this path. I didn't like media, and getting up each week. To be honest, getting up each week, going into Fox Footy, I have nerves, and I figure, why am I doing it?
What are you nervous about?
Just going into Fox Footy, being on TV and speaking, and not wanting to make a mistake. But I made so many mistakes. But when I do,
but you're so naturally charismatic at it.
And when I go in there, I enjoy it. Once I'm in there, I enjoy it. But it's getting me.
Is it
to there?
Your ability, yours. I'm talking about yours individually. Your ability to do stuff on the footy field, like 4 goals of the year. Like, it's, I don't know, how many years you play for?
17.
17. So,
but I come second 5 times in the goal of the year.
Right.
So I should have won it 9 times. Howie, I was ripped off.
So you've won it 25% of the times you played. Yeah, therefore, you've either won or come second 50% of the times you played. There's 650 odd footballers running around. Like that. Does that talent, where does that come from? Is that hard work? Is it repetition? Is it natural ability? Where does that come from?
I think when it comes to that and kicking goals, it comes to instinct. I've, kicked socks, footies, everything around growing up, playing with my older cousins, outdoors, and my uncles. I don't know if it's in the blood. I would like to say that it's in the blood because my father did it, my uncles did it. They were so good at kicking goals, and all my cousins are good at it. And I've just took it to a bigger scale on the highest level. But I practiced a lot, but it comes down to instinct. It comes down to playing the game, knowing how to go. I always said like when I kicked that goal at Adelaide Oval, I said to crowds afterwards, I said, some can, some can't, and I can. But I don't know how, and I can't talk how I do it, but they just tend to go in every time I kick it from the boundary. And
so you're talking about, we were set up for best on ground, and you were in front of the crowd.
This is live, yeah.
Your name, it's live, and I threw down, Eddie's coming up in the show, best on ground, and then you put it straight through the middle. But I've done it you've seen you do it so many times. I would have been more shocked if you hadn't put it straight through the middle. To be honest, mate, it would have been more of a sensation if you'd actually missed it.
Yeah, and it's weird like that, and and it's funny because I do it with my kids. My kids know how to kick a check side now. I teach Louis and Billy how to do it. I teach my boys how to do it at training. And funny, they were doing footy programs, right, during the school holidays, last school holidays, and I went to a footy program and a specialist was kicking check side goals, and that's all they're going to learn about. And my son's like, well, Dad, I don't need to go to this, do I?
Very good.
I said, Louis, you should go down and teach them how to do it.
And frequent listeners of this show know I got a couple of kids who the person that's which child is most engaged asks a question of the guest. Now, you get my 11-year-old son, who is a good Hawthorn man. I got him early.
Yeah.
Because the Hawks won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And Carlton weren't going very well, which my wife goes for. This is going to be tougher than any question I ask you. But his name is Mac, but he rolls as the Big Penguin. That's his nickname. Self-given.
Big Penguin.
The Big Penguin. So you get his question, Ed.
Hi, Eddie. Big Penguin here. I've been thinking of my top 5 all-time favourite footy players, not including you, but you would be up there lately. So I thought at number 5 would be Buddy. He would be higher up, but he's moved to the Swans. Number 4 is Bruce, because I think he's
Hawthorn.
a really good player, and he always gets a couple of goals.
Lukey Bruce.
Yep.
Number 3, Ruffy. Got 4 premierships at the Hawks.
Jared
Can't
Ruffhead.
say no.
Yep.
Number 2, Chief, just because he's the Chief.
Chief Dunstall, Jason Dunstall.
Number 1 is Cyril. He's just in my eyes
Cyril
the
Rioli.
GOAT, and I think he's the best. What about you? What would your top 5 be?
How the Chief has got in there.
How old is he?
Well, he loves the bounce.
Oh, okay. So Chief has got him through the bounce, not his footy's credentials.
Not through his 1254 goals, just because he's a Hawthorn man and he's been on the bounce. So that's his.
question.
I know it's going to be a tough one for you, but he wants you 5-1
Okay.
in order.
5-1 in
You
order.
can think about it. We can edit out the pauses if there needs to
No,
be.
that's right. Let's go. I can wheel them off from here now.
Yeah.
Well, can I go from 1 maybe? I'll go from.
Well, I think you got to leave one last.
Okay.
It's got to be the big
okay,
unveil.
Okay. Well, I would say.
What about how Buddy only got 5? He would have been 1, but he left the Hawks and went to the Swans.
yeah.
It cost him.
Well, it's not easy. There's some great players out there, but I grew up in an era where watching older players.
Yep.
Not to the generation now.
Yep.
But I'm gonna put Cyril at number 5.
Cyril comes in 5.
Cyril comes in 5.
Okay. He's my number 1.
Cyril will come in 5.
Right. Cyril Rioli at 5. This is a good list. If
yeah,
Cyril's
so-
only 5,
Cyril will come in at number 5.
right.
I'm gonna say Chris Judd, number 4.
Juddy.
Juddy was an unbelievable player for West Coast and
He was.
Carlton Football Club, won a Brownlow at both and won a lot of best and fairest, and he was just unstoppable.
Knowing the arrogance of that man, he'll be disappointed he's not higher up the list, but he'd be happy to be on the list.
Okay.
So we got Cyril, then we got Juddy.
Yes. Okay. I've got my top 2 already picked out. So
Right,
I've
so
got
you
I've
just
got
need
a
a third.
I just need a third to come in. Oh, I've got it. It's Adam Goods.
Goodsy.
At number 3, Adam Goods is a 2-time Brownlow medalist, absolute superstar of the game.
Could play anywhere.
I could play anywhere. I grew up barracking for. I grew up idolising Adam Goods, so he will come out my number 3. My number 2 will be Buddy Franklin,
The big bud.
the big dad. He's an absolute beast. Probably top 5 of all-time players that ever played the game. Oh crap! I just thought I missed a few players that I would have thrown. I'll give honourable mentions, but my number 1
Well, here we go. So this is your number 1 favourite footballer of all time.
of all time is Gary Ablett Jr.
Gary Ablett Jr.
Gary Ablett Jr. has won everything.
True.
Every medal, 2 Brownlow medals, is an absolute star of the game. Absolute star. And if you look at Gary when Gary was at his best, no one can stop Gary.
Yeah.
No one could stop Gary. He's my all-time number 1 favourite player. And there's a lot of players, like when I said, damn it, I missed somebody, I'm going to, just before, because I thought about Wayne Carey.
Oh.
You know, the Duck. The Duck is an absolute, you think about the Chief, James
Match winner,
Dunstall,
yep.
you know. You think about Koudafides, you know, all these unbelievable players. But for me, these are players that I watched.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's different, but this is for me, watch growing up and the people that I think that, you know, that had big influence in games. And
Last one I have for you, Eddie. This is the most important question I have for you. This defines you as a father, as a husband, as a footballer, as an author, as a TV star. This is the big one. You got to look me in the eyes when I answer this one. Eddie Betts, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
no,
Oh.
that was an easy question for me. I hate pineapple.
Are you serious?
Yeah, my kids love it. I'm no pineapple.
I've got a question that you might be able to redeem yourself.
Okay.
Peanut butter, crunchy or smooth?
Smooth.
Oh,
Are you crunchy?
you're 0 from 2.
Wow, no.
I don't get smooth.
Why?
Oh, but why? Why?
Crunchy, man. You need it smooth on, make melt on. Yeah. Okay, you got anyone to redeem myself? You can have one more if you want.
I don't have any
can't
more.
come back from that.
I
Can't
don't have
come.
any. My only redeeming is that your kids like pineapple and pizza. That's all I've
And
got
my
for you.
kid like crunchy too.
Oh, good. Well, I should have got them in. Hey, mate, in all seriousness, it was a podcast I've been really looking forward to doing. I don't have the words or the skill to put into words the thanks I owe you for coming on the show and speaking as openly as you did. I knew at times it would be confronting. It was more confronting than I thought, especially when you detailed the personal racism you have in day-to-day life. Good luck with the Eddie Betts Foundation. I'm sure it'll be a massive success. Good luck with everything moving forward, and may your children grow up in a different Australia that you did.
Thanks, Howie. Thanks, man. It means a lot. And I generally believe that we are moving forward in this nation. So it's good to come on and chat about it. I know sometimes it is a bit hard and a bit emotional and a bit bearing, and you feel like you got a lot of weight on your shoulders. But I'm happy to continue to talk about it, to educate, and to try and make this place a better place for everyone. So thanks again, and to all the listeners. Hope you get a lot out of it, and hope you enjoy this podcast.